Yeah, and they also, it's so critical, and sometimes people forget this because they're so used to taking care of teams, but you can't take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself first. And that's critical. So I think that leaders, at least for me, I know I have to consistently feed my mind and meditate on positive things and keep my mind open so that anybody that I'm working with, I can share that energy, that inspiration, and that hope.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host, Neha Murthy. And let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around several interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, we have with us today Bethany Plaza. For 25 years, Bethany has been an energetic and outspoken leader in the IT industry. She has played a pivotal role in helping individuals and businesses thrive while simultaneously solving technology challenges. Drawing on her unique blend of solutions-oriented strategic thinking and person-centered leadership development, she has helped a wide range of organizations meet and exceed their goals in business. Bethany has owned and sold 5 companies. Most recently, she has sold her IT services company to a publicly traded company. Bethany helps leaders develop cohesive models that value and integrate the myriad skill sets located within an organization. More than a savvy professional, Bethany is a leader of leaders. Bethany makes it her mission to help individuals find success and fulfillment for both their business and themselves. Bethany also serves as a National Director for Women in Technology International. WITI's mission is to empower women worldwide to achieve unimaginable possibilities and transformations through technology, leadership, and economic prosperity. We are extremely happy and honored to have someone of her stature with us on our interview series. Welcome, Bethany. We are thrilled to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. And what a mouthful of blah for me. Huh?
So, jumping right into the interview, the first question I had for you, Bethany, was, you've mentioned that in the past 25 years in your career, you've adopted a solutions-oriented strategic thinking and a person-centric leadership development approach. That sounds really very interesting. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. It's interesting. I think over the years, just to be quite authentic, I came from a domestic violence background for a long, long time. And of course, owning companies, it's a constant growth. So I had extreme challenges, both on the business and business and personal side. But what I found to be a survivor and to overcome certain things, you had to develop resilience, tenacity, problem-solving skills. And what I did is take a lot of my personal challenges of how I always solved problems, and I translated it into business. And I found that I was very, very good at solving problems. Okay, so for person-centric, it's interesting. And I take a lot of my personal experiences. I think each of us, each of us have personal traumas, life experiences, etc., that make us an individual. So in my mind, when you're working with leaders, especially as a coach or a mentor or helping to develop skills, you really can never take a cookie cutter approach. I don't believe that one framework is really going to help develop people. I think you have to take a very people-centric approach because anything that's ever happened to us personally is always going to impact, unfortunately, every decision and every trigger we have in any situation, including in business. So that's my thinking anyways. Who knows if it makes sense to anybody else.
Yes, so I completely believe in that, like you as a person, what all you go through is something that will mold your thinking and how you take decisions in life, may it be personal or business, everything.
Yeah. And I also believe that when we deal with others in the workplace, we have to keep that in mind too. Sometimes we think everything's about us, and it's almost never about us.
Yeah, completely. So as a woman myself, I feel very honored speaking to the National Director of Women in Technology. Could you tell our audience more about WITI's mission and a few anecdotes?
Well, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, WITI has been a consistent, clear voice for advocating for women's contributions to industry, inspiring young women to enter the STEM careers, and actively working with industries and corporations in our different areas to create a culture of inclusiveness and innovation. And it's a very large network. We have over 3 million professionals in 50 domestic and 13 global networks. And we aim really to deliver leading edge best practice tools, programs, and platforms and networking events to really create community. And the other cool things I always think about it, it was the very first women's network out there back in the 80s. And it's the only international platform right now.
Wow, that's great to hear about that. It's very interesting. And we recently also learned that you have owned and sold 5 companies. What was that experience like?
Yeah, I think honestly, owning businesses, you learn that every position in a company is more than just that position. Every single one, and it's like a mobile over a baby crib. If you pull on one little toy, the whole thing shifts. And it's the same thing, I think, within an organization, how that all the units work together and affect each other. But I guess some of the big lessons I've learned: don't hire your friends because you feel sorry for them, unless they have a specific skill you need. I found that the greatest growth comes after some of the greatest failures. That is, if you don't allow yourself to get stuck in the failures and beating yourself up. So I think you always have to be, open your mind to the learning experience. What did you do? Why did this fail? What can I do to make it different in the future? I also, I've really learned how to be a better leader over the years. And I noticed each company that I had, I grew and the revenues grew as I continued to learn. I think that people respond and work better when they work for a leader and not just a boss. That's just a couple lessons, but the list is long. All your weak points as a person get exposed when you own a business, because you can only hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Like, we hold ourselves accountable, and that is how it is. And also, as you said, the more we fail is how much we learn the experiences of what is right and what is not, and what works and what doesn't.
That's my opinion anyway. There might be people that argue.
Absolutely. And coming down to the technological part of the field, what does it take in your experience to balance technology and leadership in order to enable growth of companies?
Well, I think in my opinion, you really need to understand the business, its workflows, its goals, how it grows revenue in order to make the right technology recommendations. It's, as a technology leader, it's not just about, what vendor you have a relationship with and want to bring in, or who you like the best. It really needs to always be about what's best for the business. And I strongly believe that technology should never implement enterprise technologies without ensuring that you've spoken with and understand the workflow and business needs of each different business unit. I've seen too many companies fail by doing it that way, not doing it that way.
Absolutely. That's right. And on a passing note, you've mentioned that it is very essential to motivate and guide one's client in order to instill hope and confidence in uncertain circumstances. Has it come forward in a whole new light because of the pandemic?
It's an interesting question. I think the pandemic has exposed managers versus leaders. So I think instilling hope and confidence has always been essential. And I think leaders get that, real leaders get that. But I do believe that the pandemic has created heightened anxiety amongst people, fear of the unknown. And I do believe that true leaders do the best for their teams if they acknowledge authentically what's going on in the world right now, that they fine-tune their emotional intelligence, that they really are tuned into what is impacting their individual employees, not just across the board, because each person needs to be treated as an individual. And I think that they have to provide hope. I think that so many times managers, people in general right now get stuck in all the bad. And I think that it's a leader's job to acknowledge the bad, but be able to inspire and lead and innovate and look at hope and create hope for the future. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. And what I think is, in this pandemic, we've learned a lot about what mental well-being is. And that starts right from a leader taking care of their employee in person and not just in a team on board.
Yeah, and they also, it's so critical, and sometimes people forget this because they're so used to taking care of teams, but you can't take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself
That,
first. And that's critical. So I think that leaders, at least for me, I know I have to consistently feed my mind and meditate on positive things and keep my mind open so that anybody that I'm working with, I can share that energy, that inspiration, and that hope.
definitely. Thank you so much for that positive note in the end, Bethany. It was wonderful. And
Oh, good. I'm glad.
it was very nice talking to you. And I really want to thank you not just for your insight, but also for taking out the time to talk with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
It's absolutely our pleasure, Bethany. And I
All
personally
right.
view this conversation as a learning experience. And not just for me, it's going to benefit our audience watching this as well.
Good. I hope somebody gets something out of it. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for having
You
me.
too. You too. Thank you so much.